welcome to the December the 14th, 1987 taping of It Happened in Grand Prairie, as we bring you history points from the past and also bring you up to date on some of the citizens of Grand Prairie that have had a part in developing the past of Grand Prairie, Texas. And this is history tape number 57, and we're very excited that we have with us today two of the very important members of what we lovingly call the Jackson clan. And Mr. Vernon Arthur Jackson, we'd like to welcome you to the show. It's happening.
Thank you, Ruthie.
Wonderful. And it's a pleasure having Louise Jackson Vance with us today. Welcome, Louise.
Hi, Ruthie.
This is a very exciting interview for your host. We've interviewed many couples, many groups, many families on this show, but we've not had the privilege of interviewing the immediate and most immediate part of our family, since Mr. Jackson and I are married and have been for some 43 years, and Mrs. Vance is my illustrious sister-in-law, and being married into the Jackson family has been quite an exciting adventure. So with your permission now, we're going to interview these very fine Jacksons as a team today. Mr. Jackson, would you look out into your camera and sort of set the stage for us by giving your genealogy? And we know it's been an exciting adventure for you, you were the first one in our family, to our knowledge, that started a search of the family tree, so to speak. Would you give us that information, please, sir?
Yes, I'd be glad to. Starting with myself, Vernon Arthur Jackson. I was born in 1921, August the 13th. My father's name is Johnny T. Jackson. He was born in Russellville, Alabama in 1900. He is still living at the age of 87. His father was named John D. Jackson. He was also born in Russellville, Alabama. He was born, I'll have to look and see what date he was born. He was born in 1873 and died in 1900 at the young age of 27. His father, James Monroe Jackson, was born in 1844 in Georgia, I believe, and he died in 1927. His father, W.T. Jackson, was born in 1815 and died in 1876. I'm not sure where he was born, but I think it was from in South Carolina. That's the best that we found out.
That gives us information on the Jacksons now. Would you like to give us before you give us your mother's name, would you like to tell us where you were born? You told us the year and the date, but you did not give us the place, Mr. Jackson.
I was born in Prairie, Texas.
Would you spell Prairie?
F-A-I-R-Y. Prairie.
What is the county?
Hamilton County. It's right in the center of Texas.
All right. Now, let's go to your mother's genealogy. Would you tell us about your mother, please?
My mother's name was Annie Valera Keller. Her father's name was Samuel McClendon Keller, and he was born in Lancaster, Texas in 1875 and died in 1930 at the age of 55.
Okay.
His father was James A. Keller. He was also born in Lancaster, Texas in 1848 and died in 1925. And I understand that he was, among other things, a tax collector, one of the first over in Lancaster, Texas. And his father was Samuel Keller, And he came to Lancaster, Texas, somewhere about 1841 or 42 in a covered wagon.
Okay.
And he came from Illinois.
From Illinois. All right, now, Mr. Jackson, we've gotten your mother and your father and where you were born. What year did you come to Grand Prairie, Texas, or the area?
Came to Grand Prairie, Texas area in 1941, and I believe it was April or May of 1941, and went to work for North American Aviation in the old Chevrolet building downtown Dallas, Texas. That's where...
What were you doing down there?
We were building, we were in the sheet metal department. We were building the center section and the wings for the aircraft industry, yes.
All right, and following that, after you left that place, where did you go for North American?
We came to the plant now occupied by Chance Vaught. It was called North American Aviation then, and we worked there through 41, 42, 43, and part of 45 until the World War I was over.
Between
World War II, I'm
World
sorry.
War II. All right, between that and the Chevrolet house, weren't you teaching in some kind of a school here in the Dallas area?
Yes, during that period of time, of course, the aircraft business was very new in Grand Prairie, Texas, and in the state of Texas at that time. And since I had been to California and had some experience in the aircraft business working for Lockheed Aircraft in Burbank, California, I was an instructor, or the Dallas Board of Education hired me as an instructor to teach at 2222 Ross Avenue. We taught blueprint, we taught sheet metal and welding and just general things that, subjects that was relevant to the aircraft business.
All right, and on September the 10th in about 1944, you and I married, and we have settled and lived in this Grand Prairie area for all of these years, right?
Yes, that was my next very important event that I was about to tell about.
All right, now, Mr. Jackson, what do you do for a living?
After I left the aircraft business, I went in the vending business, and I've been doing that ever since.
All right, and that includes peddling ball gum and peanuts and such as this?
Yes, what we call bulk, B-U-L-K, vending.
Bulk vending, okay. And we have how many children? Would you like to name them?
Yes, we have two children, Xana Wyvon,
All right.
who lives in Brenham, Texas. Her name is now Xana Wyvon Young. She has two children, Jay Young and Randy Young Hahn, that's H-A-H-N,
All right.
who is now expecting a baby, which will be our first great-grandchild.
Wonderful. All right, and we have another daughter. Would you like to name her?
Georgia Annette Jackson Clemson, who, along with Xana, went to Grand Prairie High School and finished their high school here in Grand Prairie. And Georgia and Xana both attended college. Xana attended Abilene, what then was Abilene Christian College, and Georgia attended the college over in Arlington, UTA.
All right.
And
all right. Would you like to name your grandchildren in that side,
I
sir?
better go ahead and say that Georgia's name is now Clemson, and maybe name the Clemson grandchildren.
All right.
Spencer Clemson, Leanna Clemson, and Allison Clemson.
Uh-huh. And their father, would you like to name their father?
Dan Clemson, who many people know in Grand Prairie, and a gentleman that I'm very proud of.
And works with you in your business?
Yes, he does.
All right. You didn't mention Mrs. Young's husband. Would you like to?
Mrs. Young's husband, Xana's husband's Dwayne Young, and he lives with Xana in Brenham, Texas.
And he formerly was with the Urban Renewal here in Grand Prairie, Texas?
That is correct.
All right. Well, you've brought us almost up to date, and we're going to let you rest just for a minute, Mr. Jackson, and you be thinking about some of the exciting things that you'd like to tell us about your tenure here in Grand Prairie, maybe some of the boards you've served on, some of the community service, and your involvement in the community other than in the business field, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Louise Jackson Vance, we're so glad to have you with us, and as the sister of Mr. Jackson, tell us a little bit more about the Jackson clan from your family point of view. Look out into your camera and tell us about your particular little family.
My particular
How long
little
y'all have
family?
been in Grand Prairie and all the good stuff?
All right. Well, we've been in Grand Prairie since 1952. We came here right after we married, and I myself was born in Hamilton County,
All right.
Texas, raised in the AG community, which Vernon has told you a little bit about the AGs and the Jacksons. That was our great-great-grandfather that settled the AG community, and we were all raised there in the AG community. Dr. AG, I think he was a physician. Let's see, I think he was everything. He was a minister. He was a Baptist minister, wasn't he? And he was the blacksmith. He was the everything in that little AG community there where we were all raised later, many years later. I attended school also at Prairie, and I married Dorman Vance he was from the Carlton community there in Hamilton County.
And since Mr. Jackson gave his parents, would you like to give Dorman's parents' names?
His parents are Clarence and Eula Vance. They were ranchers there in Hamilton County until Mr. Vance's death, and Mrs. Vance now is living in Hyco.
Right.
They're in a small community.
Okay.
And my husband, you want me to tell you about Dorman?
Yes, let's have
Okay.
something about Dorman Vance.
He was born in Dawson County, which is out in West Texas, around La Mesa, on November the 15th, 1934. When he first came to Grand Prairie, he worked for the Lone Star Gas Company for several years. He was a machinist at LTV, and he now has his own machine shop, Triangle Machine in Hurst, Texas. He's been there for 21 years with the business, and he's in the quarter horse business. We are in the quarter horse business. I'm as interested in that quarter horse business as he is, and he's a member of the American Quarter Horse Association and the National Cutting Horse Association, and he keeps real busy with the horse shows and keeping up with everything. And what else do you want to know,
I want to
Ruthie?
know about your family now, about
About
your
me?
children and where they went to school, and give us their
Okay.
names and all the good stuff.
Okay. My children, I have 3.
All right.
And the oldest is Cindy. She lives in Grand Prairie. She attended Grand Prairie High School. She attended all Grand Prairie schools here from the elementary on. Graduated in 1971. She was interested in music and was Dolly in the Hello Dolly musical at Grand Prairie High School. She got her teacher's education degree from North Texas State. She taught 2 years before the birth of our 2 grandsons, and she's real active in her sorority. I'm real proud of her. She's real active in this new Kids, etc., Kids Incorporated.
All right.
That
The Women's Club is
yes,
doing.
the Women's Club is doing that. And
Would you like to name the young man that she married and those 2 grandchildren?
I would. She married Hank Smith. Hank was from Terrell. He was a Terrell boy that came to UTA, met Cindy. They married. He's with Panduit. He's a regional director is what he is.
right.
With
They have 2
Panduit.
children?
They have 2 children.
Name those for us.
They have Vance Ballard Smith. He's 8 years old. He's in the 2nd grade at Eisenhower Elementary. And they have Cole Jackson Smith, and he's 5 years old. He's a preschooler at Turnpike.
Your second child now.
My second child is Vivian Lee Vance.
All right.
And Vivian was also a Grand Prairie product, Grand Prairie school product. She's graduated from Grand Prairie High School also in 1974. She was musically inclined and had the lead in Oklahoma, her musical. And she's now a broker with Century 21 Real Estate 3 here in Grand Prairie. She's active in the Chamber of Commerce. She's on the Board of Realtors, or serves with the Board of Realtors. She's involved with the Winterfest, the Mistletoe Ball.
Also, she's a member of Junior Women's Club, isn't
Oh,
she?
yes, she's a member of Junior's Women's Club.
All right.
And she, like Cindy, keeps busy in that. And then we have John Anderson Vance, our son, that attended Grand Prairie schools also. He's a graduate from Grand Prairie High School in 1980.
Good.
And he, like the girls, was interested in music and had a lead in the Capers, which is the school musical. He attended Abilene Christian and TCU. He also attended Ogle School of Hair Design. He lives in Dallas, and he's presently the artistic director and the chemical technician for Bond Street Salon in Dallas, where he works and lives.
That is wonderful.
That got my children.
That got all of your children. All right, now we're going to let you rest and come back in a few minutes with you about your involvement here in the city, since you have been so active over all the years, Louise. We want to get back to that portion, and that way you can sort of be thinking about that until we get Mr. Jackson on the hot seat again. Mr. Jackson, what have you been doing in Grand Prairie since you've been here, other than making a living? I know that you've been out into the community. Tell us a little bit about your history there.
Well, in 1955, I ran for the school board in Grand Prairie, Texas, and was elected. And we were elected 3-year terms, and I was elected 5 times. So I served 15 years on the Grand Prairie School Board, which I'm very proud of. I feel like education, as far as the children is concerned, is a key element in our society in Grand Prairie, Texas. And
Did you serve under more than one superintendent? Would you like to name drop some of the superintendents you worked with, sir?
served under or with Mr. Chambers when I first got elected. Then Mr. Browning Combs
All right, the late Browning Combs.
was a superintendent, but Ms. Chambers superintendent most of those years.
All right. Now, other than your school service, did you have any other involvement in the community?
In 1962, Mr. Kurt Wagner, who was then the mayor, asked me if I would serve on the Urban Renewal Board. At that time, I had some question about it, and Mr. Wagner, being the persuasive gentleman that he is, he asked me to come down to Kip's and have breakfast with him. After he talked with me about 15 minutes, I said, yes, I'll serve on the Urban Renewal Board. And that was in 1962, and 22 years later, I was still serving on the Urban Renewal Board, but I believe it was about 2 years ago now, I resigned because you got elected to the city council, and it was a possible conflict there. But during that time, Urban Renewal program did play out, and they discontinued it, but they substituted a community renewal. So I went ahead and served, and during those years, 22 years, most of those years I served as chairman, and I'm very proud of that tenure of service, because community renewal and urban renewal, when it's run properly, is a tremendous help to people, especially the poor people in Grand Prairie, Texas, or wherever the programs are administered. But it was many millions, hundreds of millions of dollars spent during these 22 years, and I'm happy to say that we handled it well. That during all of our audits, we got good marks, and it was a tremendous amount of good accomplished through that community and urban renewal activities. I'm
And
very
when you
proud
went
of
on that board, could you name the directors? Can you recall those? I know that you can remember at least two of them, so.
Well, I remember Ed Jones. I served with Ed Jones the longest, and during that time, Ray Phillips was also the director, and Dwayne Young, that we mentioned a while ago, my son-in-law, served down there some, and there was a little noise made about him being my relative, so he didn't serve there too long. He transferred on to Brenham, Texas, and was in charge of the urban renewal program down there and did a good job. And I'm trying to think, I believe it was Leo Garrett was the director whenever I first went on that board, and he was a great gentleman. I believe he's passed on now. He was a great gentleman and did a whole lot of good for Grand Prairie, Texas.
I think I'm going to ask you in about a couple of minutes, how about your service with Rotary or with the Republic Bank or Midway Bank? Would you like to mention any of those, and maybe your eldership at the church? And then I'll get back with Louise about her tenure of service. Would you like to talk about any of those?
Yes.
All right.
In 1967, I was asked to be an elder at the Burbank Garden Church of Christ. I served down there 16 years, up until as elder for 16 years, and I believe it's been 3 years ago, up until 3 years ago. And it was kind of like the fellow that said he'd been married 30 years, and it was 20 years, the greatest years of his life. That's kind of the way my tenure is as elder. It's out of the 16 years, it's about 12 or 14 of the greatest years of my life, and it's like anything else. Some of it was very trying, but yet it's something I'm very proud of, and I feel good about it, and I was just glad to serve as in that capacity. And you mentioned Republic Bank. I have served as a director at Republic Bank, and I'm still serving in that capacity, but that began in 1960 as Midway Bank.
Midway National.
Midway National, right down in the middle of Grand Prairie, which is now where Dr. Nutt's chiropractic office is.
Okay.
And
And Rotary?
Rotary, yeah.
You've been in Rotary sometime, and you
Yes,
don't have perfect attendance, do you?
I've learned to spell R-O-T-A-R-Y. That's spelled Rotary, and I've been a member of that club for many years, and some of the greatest people in Grand Prairie, Texas, belongs to the Rotary Club.
Okay.
I do not have perfect attendance, and I envy those people that do have perfect attendance, because about the time I get almost a year, something happens and miss or I'm absent, and I've never gotten 1 year perfect attendance, but there's people in the Rotary Club that has 20 and 25, and I'm sure some of the old Rotarians will tell me next Friday that they have 30 years perfect attendance, and they may have, and I admire them. It's a good club, and it does a lot of good Grand Prairie.
And Mr. Dewey Miller, the charter president, is still gung-ho, and we appreciate him very much.
Yes.
Mr. Jackson, we're going to let you rest a minute and come back in a few minutes about some other things you might like to tell. Louise, tell us just a little bit about your service in Grand Prairie, how you started in the community, like down at Fannin.
Oh, yeah.
And tell us what that one thing of serving as the president of Fannin led to.
Oh, just being a room mother, Ruthie. It first started in the first grade with the first child, being a
Yes.
room mother. And I said, yes, I'd just love to be the room mother chairman. I'd just be glad to help anybody out I could. And ever since then, it just went from there. I was room mother, and I served the PTA. In fact, I want you to do some research, Ruthie. Here's your history job. You can check and see if anyone else has served as president of the PTA on all levels. If they haven't, I might get a reward because I got to thinking, and I served as a preschool. elementary at Fannin, and at Jefferson Junior High, the president,
And-
at Grand Prairie High School, and at the City Council PTA. So I might get some kind of plaque from you, Ruthie, if I just live long enough.
If you just hang in there.
If I can hang in there, but the PTA was a great part of my life. I loved the PTA and working with the teachers, and starting at Fannin was great because the teachers were so dedicated there.
Would you like to name drop your principal?
My principal was A.B. Kane at Fannin. He was a delightful person and a great influence on my life. He was a wonderful man. I'll never forget, I guess the most precious memories was the clothes drive that we did down there. Between he and I, we kind of got our own thing going, and we clothed a lot of little needy children down there. And that was one of my most precious memories, I guess, was with PTA. But I
After
did
PTA, what else? What did you go into then?
Oh, a little bit of everything later on. Then after the children got a little older, well, I worked with the YMCA drive there for several years when Mr. Kane was chairman of that. Well, he kind of insisted that all of us be very active in the YMCA, and we did enjoy that too. And we did help him with the drive. Well, I'm a member of the 20th Century Study Club right now, which is a great group of ladies, and we do have, I believe we have about 30 members.
Okay.
And let's see, I'm past president of the Grand Prairie Women's Club, and presently I'm serving on this the Kids Incorporated Chairman Committee this year. And let's see, on the Arts Committee for the Grand Prairie Women's Club. Let's see, what else have I done, Ruthie?
You've had a real wonderful tenure here in Grand Prairie, and
I've enjoyed it.
you don't know how we appreciate the contributions that you've made. And then the 1 minute that we have left, Mr. Jackson, would you look out into your camera, and you've name-dropped several people that have inspired you to give community service. You have 1 minute wrap-up about Grand Prairie and what it means to you and how you've liked being here, sir, please.
Grand Prairie, Texas is a great place to live. Ruthie and I have had an opportunity to move to Arlington, Irving, different places, but we chose to stay right here in Grand Prairie, Texas. I'd recommend it, and I recommend it on account of the great people that are here. When I first came to Grand Prairie, Texas, people like Mr. G.H. Turner, Mr. Sargent, the Binghams,
The
Stufflebeams, just tremendous people that has encouraged me and influenced my life, and we owe a great deal to people here in Grand Prairie that have helped us and encouraged us.
And Louise, we know you could live anywhere you wanted to. Would you like to say something about Grand Prairie in the half minute?
In the half minute. Well, I can't say too much other than what Barney
Would you name your two sisters that live here in Grand Prairie?
That'd be better. Yes, I have two sisters. One just moved to Bowie, Texas.
What's her name?
Mary Hickerson.
All right.
Has just moved to Bowie. And then Gwen Seymour lives in Grand Prairie.
And she's married to?
Ernest Seymour,
And
who's
name
a
her
long-time Grand Prairie
All right,
family.
name her two children.
Tommy Lee Seymour and Barry Lynn Seymour. They're both grown guys now.
All right, and we're going to get back with Ernest Seymour and his family soon, but I want to
good.
thank you all very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ruthie.
And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do.